Now there's tens of thousands of people that'll head to the shed woods each year looking for the next greatest giant shed from a whitetail, that maybe a target buck, maybe a buck in the area that they're hoping they'll find, or maybe just looking for that leftover buck after the season, make sure that he's alive. And while shed hunting is a great pastime, it's a great amount of family time. It helps you hike, keeps you healthy. That's all good stuff, but does it really contribute to your whitetail strategy and actually ultimately harvesting a target buck for the next year? What I find is that trail cam survey and keeping your trail cams ready and really watching all winter long will offer you a whole lot more information than actually finding a shed antler on the ground. Now I'll give you an example, and if you could bear with me. For one, it's numbers. You know, on my property we shot 4 mature bucks on this year. Another small property we shot another one. We're getting tons of trail cam photos throughout the entire season and video, letting us know that those bucks are in the area. They're letting us know that that's in there at that time, and we're not getting any sheds. We'll find 2 or 3. We found 2 or 3 on one parcel. Another parcel we hunted for 12 years, we found 2 or 3 over that time. And it's because we have a fall parcel. We manage for a fall parcel. We manage the habitat for a fall parcel. We manage the food for a fall parcel. And then those deer leave and go somewhere else in the wintertime. A lot of times they're looking for thermal cover. They might be in conifers, even heavy switchgrass plantings, big switchgrass plantings, bottomland, where they're just not at during the fall. And so you find that shed in those locations, and it's very misleading because you think, well, that deer is over in that area during the fall. You plan your hunting strategy around that, and he's just not there. And this especially applies to public land. Deer can move great distances. I, lived in the UP of Michigan for 14 years. I've hunted up there since 1986, and on public land. And where those bucks shed are often even up to 10 miles away from where they spend their falls, let alone during the summertime. Each different habitats. And so while the shed hunting is great, just by pure numbers, the shed hunts and the sheds that you find often do not reflect where those bucks were in the fall. Again, I'm not saying shed hunting is bad, but the trail cam is going to show you where they're at in the fall, and you're going to get the most number of mature bucks and mature buck tallies and evidence that they're around and what they're doing in the fall. Now, number 2, those sheds, where you find them, very misleading towards the type of habitat that they prefer to live in. So if you make habitat decisions based on, let alone hunting decisions, based on where those sheds are found, they can be very misleading. On the other hand, again, going back to the trail cameras, whether it's during the wintertime, whether it's during the summer, whether it's during the fall, those trail cams are going to tell you exactly where those bucks want to be when their seasons shift. And so whether it's summertime trail camera photos and you're finding the bucks like bean fields and alfalfa fields and big hardwood settings with maple leaves and a high overstory and shade during the summertime, that's great. You might find, and what we find around here, typically the mature bucks are about a mile away from those locations during the fall. And in their fall areas, they like high stem count, they like high quality fall food sources. And then of course during the winter, you're finding completely different habitats. So the trail cameras not only tell you where that buck might potentially drop his antlers if you have cameras in that location during the wintertime, but they're going to tell you the type of habitat they like from season to season to season. And that's a very critical, important step and a big difference between finding sheds out in land randomly where you don't know really how they related to the fall habitat, and where you have trail cameras that are specifically telling you where those bucks are at in that location. So first off, just numbers in general. If you want to identify bucks, if you want to find out where they're doing, and you just want to capture a huge number of mature buck movements, obviously the trail camera wins out on that. The sheds will offer a few here and there, but they're not going to be that definitive. Second, the habitat. The trail camera is going to tell you exactly where those bucks want to be from season to season in their specific habitat, and that'll make you make hunting decisions, habitat decisions on your property. And finally, just pure hunting strategy. Now, I know a lot of people that are really good, and I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name the one name, but I know some people that are really good finding sheds, but that doesn't relate to their hunting season and their hunting strategy and their ability to shoot bucks. They can hunt sheds, they can find sheds, but that's a completely different skill set than actually hunting them. And a lot of times I believe if there's some really good shed hunters that are not good hunters because those sheds and those shed sign that they find that where they drop their antlers is really misleading to where they should hunt, where they should hang a stand, how they should hunt during the fall. And I know someone, Brennan Nading, Dylan behind the camera right now, it's one of Dylan's partners, Mike Mansell, Brennan and Dylan, great guys, and they have Breaking Point TV, Black Stamp Media. Now Brennan is a shed hunting fool. He's also a buck killing machine. So you can't say it, but I know a lot of times Brennan is identifying where those bucks drop, when they drop, if they dropped. He's identifying that those bucks are there. And then you transfer that information back to, okay, I know he's alive. Now I know what pattern he's in during the fall. Brennan has a vast knowledge of where those bucks are in the fall, winter, where they're dropping their antlers versus where they're actually at during the fall. And so there's a difference. Hunting strategy by trail camera. Boy, they can tell you when a buck is appearing only during the rut, and that might tell you have holes in your habitat or your hunting strategy where you're actually pressuring your land too much and it's making a nocturnal herd where mature bucks only come onto your land during the middle of the night. It's telling you if a buck is there all the time as a core buck and he's on your land where you can hunt him as soon as the season opens, all the way through the rut. In fact, during the rut, a core buck, a lot of times you might have a chance of being off your land more than outside of the rut because he's cruising for does on another parcel. So a trail cam can give you all that information that finding sheds can't. So between pure numbers of buck ID and making sure a buck is alive, really telling you what habitat from season to season bucks want to be in, and really determining your hunting strategy, where you want to hang your stands, where you want to hunt those bucks, what type of bucks they are. Are they core bucks that'll be there for most of the season? Are they non-core bucks, or are they seasonal shift bucks where you have a buck might be around September and October, but he's not around during December or November, December? Trail cameras can tell you so much. I encourage you, most people are obviously using trail cameras and shed and searching for sheds, but there's a distinct difference when it comes to the numbers, the habitat, and the hunting strategy. I encourage you to get out and shed hunt. You know, I shed hunt when I'm on client property. I usually find 20, 30 a year in 5, 7, 10 different states. And so I love to shed hunt, and especially when I'm on client properties. Back in the day, you know, I've been working client property since 2005. I can remember it was probably 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. A client said, "Do you find many sheds on properties you're on?" And I said, "You know, I find a few here and there, but not many." And he said, "You know, look down, and there's a 5-point shed right under my feet. I'm almost standing on it." And basically his point was, maybe you should look a little bit more for sheds instead of just the habitat portion. I love the habitat portion. It's what I'm getting paid to do, but I certainly keep my eyes out for sheds, and that's where I find them. We don't find a lot on our parcels, but we do have the opportunity to shoot a lot of those bucks during the fall and manage those bucks and understand why they're relating to habitat. And certainly by the end of the season right now, we're scouring our HD video from our Exodus trail cameras and looking for those bucks that made it through the season. We have a few good ones. We're still excited for next year, even though we shot a few. And you can bet that we'll be looking for them about June, July on our mock scrapes with the trail cameras. We love looking for them, scouring the countryside by driving around looking for them in the summertime in the fields and grabbing a pop and some jerky and going for a ride. And I don't want you to stop shed hunting. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's a great activity. But what I am saying, there's a huge difference when it comes to hunting and habitat strategy and determining if those bucks are still alive, from trail cameras to sheds. I'm just trying to offer some perspective. I hope you can appreciate that. And ultimately, I want those trail cameras to really help you out next year. And there's so much they can offer. I encourage you to check out my trail cam playlist. I have lots of strategies when it comes to trail cameras, how to use them. And one thing we're looking at right now is how many times do deer look at the trail cameras. We always look at, if they're looking at our cameras more than a few times out of 100 pictures or videos, then we need to hide them more. We need to get rid of the trail cam spot, because ultimately you don't want to spook deer with your trail cameras. We're out here towards the end of the season checking them out, and I encourage you to have a lot of fun this off season using your trail cameras. Don't take them out of the woods just because the season's over. No different than you're looking for sheds in the off season. I encourage you to use your trail cameras too, and have a great off season.